I read one time a few years ago that Ramana Maharshi had his realization of truth by imagining himself dying after he had a panic attack on even considering the idea of dying. And so he laid down as a teenager and just put himself to death, as it were, systematically, imagining what would go, what would separate from him as he passed away. And that led to his enlightenment experience. And I remember wanting to mimic that and, trying to imagine my own death and laying down and just really being at a loss as to what to imagine and how to think about it. And so that afternoon, when I was having lunch with Swami Prabhutananda in the monastery, I mentioned it to him. I said, I tried to replicate Ramana Maharshi's experiment that led to his realization, and I was just having a terrible time trying to envision my own death. I really had no idea what to work with. and I remember Swami Prabhutananda looked at me kind of puzzled for a moment, and he wiped his mouth with his napkin at the table. And he said to me, "You see, you cannot imagine your own death. Have you forgotten? You have never been born, and you will never die. What is it that you hope to envision?" Really gave me something beautiful to think about. I was reminded of it tonight by this poem by Tagore. It says, "Peace, my heart. Let the time for the parting be sweet. Let it not be a death, but completeness. Let love melt into memory and pain into songs. Let the flight through the sky end in the folding of the wings over the nest. Let the last touch of your hands be gentle like the flower of the night. Stand still, O beautiful end, for a moment, and say your last words in silence. I bow to you and hold up my lamp to light you on your way." Such a marvelous sense of peace came to me when I read this poem. And I just find it so beautiful. Let this time for parting be sweet. To lay in my bed one time in the monastery in where was that? That was in Hollywood, laying in the monastery there and trying to go to sleep one evening. And again, thinking about death. Swami Vivekananda says it's very good for a monk to think about death at least every day, because it is what shows us what is important in life. And it begs the biggest questions from us. But in this last moment here, as you lie in your deathbed, and death is upon you, which it will be for all of us, a very interesting time, I would think. But let it be sweet, and let it not be a death, because after all, from the words of Swami Prabhutananda, we've never been born, and will never die. We are that eternal self. We are the moment, the witness of the moment. He says, let it not be a death, not an end, but a completing of a cycle. Let love melt into memory and pain into songs. Let the flight through the sky end in the folding of the wings over the nest, so that in this life we've been in movement, we've been in constant transition and constant change. Death is a landing in the nest, a return to our comfort, to our home, to our place. Let it be a folding of our wings over the nest. Let the last touch of your hands be gentle, like the flower of the night. And interesting here in the last few verses of this poem, he separates from the one who is dying. He separates from that ego self, leaving it behind, or transitioning or transforming into the real self here. He says, "O beautiful end, for a moment. Stand still and say your last words in silence. I bow to you and hold up my lamp, my light, my self, that eternal self, the true self, to light you on your way. So death, the very process of death, sets him free, brings him home, separates him from that ego self that suffers death, that suffers birth, and becomes that light of love, that light that lights every one of us on our way forward, that beautiful longing, that beautiful idea of selflessness, that beautiful idea of immortality, that beautiful idea of infinity, the ideas that this world could never give to us, the ideas that we brought with us when we came.